The day I met my son's in-laws, I decided to wear my oldest clothes. The ones I used to wear when I still worked as a maid in that grand mansion down the hill. Before fate changed my life. My hair, usually tied neatly, I left in a loose braid. My shoes were scuffed, my handbag simple. To anyone looking, I was just another poor, tired woman. Not the woman who owned a chain of textile stores in 3 cities. Who had built her empire from the ground up after being abandoned by her husband. But today, I didn't want them to see her. I wanted them to see a mother, humble, quiet, and, if needed, underestimated. My son Arham had fallen in love with a beautiful girl named Hania. She came from what he described as a prestigious family, polished manners, big house, educated parents. He adored her, and from the sparkle in his eyes whenever he spoke of her, I knew she had captured his heart completely. I never judged him for his choices. I wanted him to marry for love, not status. But deep down, I wanted to know if Hania's family could truly see people for who they are, or only for what they have. So I made my decision. When we went to meet them for the first time, I would go not as Mrs. Aliyah Malik, the successful businesswoman, but as Aliyah, the poor widow, the mother who had nothing but love for her son. When we arrived, the difference between us and them was instantly clear. Their house stood tall and white, with shining marble floors and servants opening doors. Hania's mother, Mrs. Nadia, was dressed in a silk saree, her hair pinned perfectly, her lips painted red. She smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that warms hearts. It was the kind that measures people, like weighing their worth in grams of gold. "Oh," she said, her eyes scanning my dress, my hands, my worn shoes. "You must be Aram's mother." "Yes," I replied with a polite nod. "Just a simple woman. I'm so happy to finally meet you." "Of course," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Please sit. I hope you didn't find the journey too difficult." No, I said softly. "The bus dropped us right near your gate." Her eyebrows arched slightly. I could feel the room tense. Hania shifted uncomfortably beside Arham, glancing at her mother. They were already judging me, and that's exactly what I wanted. They served tea in fine china cups. I held mine carefully, pretending to be slightly nervous, letting my hand tremble a little. When Hania's father asked me what I did for a living, I smiled humbly. "I used to clean houses, sir. Now I mostly stay home. Manage some small stitching work here and there. Allah has been kind." His polite smile froze for a moment, replaced by a flicker of pity, or perhaps disgust. I couldn't tell. As the conversation continued, I noticed how they barely looked at me. They talked about their social circle, their foreign trips, their educated relatives. They asked Arham about his job, his education, never once showing genuine interest. In his upbringing, his values, or the woman who raised him through nights of hunger and hardship. They wanted status, not soul. Later, when Hania's mother said, "We'll need to discuss some arrangements." Of course, I knew what was coming. She looked at me and said delicately, "We have certain standards in our family. I hope you understand, Aliyah Ji. We would prefer if after marriage, your son doesn't stay in, well, a rental home." I pretended to smile. "Yes, I understand. You want the best for your daughter." "Yes, exactly. We can even help with a down payment for a better place," she said, pretending generosity. My son looked embarrassed. He knew me. He knew I didn't like being looked down upon. But I kept calm. I wasn't here to defend myself. I was here to observe. When we left their home that day, I walked silently beside my son. "Ami, I'm sorry," Arham said. "I didn't know they'd treat you like that." I smiled. "It's okay, Beta. Some people only see what's in front of them. The rest they learn later." The wedding was simple, at least from my side. I didn't allow the in-laws to know that I was funding most of it under another name. Through my business partner, I paid for the catering, the hall, the decor, everything. They thought Hania's family was covering it all. I smiled quietly through every moment, watching their arrogance shine like cheap jewelry under bright lights. After the marriage, Hania came to live with Arham and me. I made sure the house looked modest. Not poor, but not grand either. I wore simple clothes, cooked meals myself, and never mentioned work. For months, Hania treated me politely but distantly. She called me auntie, not Ami, and I could see she often felt uncomfortable inviting her friends over. She wanted to rise higher socially, and my poverty didn't fit her image. Then came the day that changed everything. One morning I asked Arham to invite Hania's parents for lunch. They came, dressed elegantly as always. I welcomed them warmly. "Please, make yourselves comfortable. I've prepared a little meal." They looked around the small living room. Simple furniture, no expensive decor. I could see Nadia's disapproval. "Still the same place," she murmured. "Arham, you really should move somewhere more suitable." I smiled, then quietly excused myself. I went into my room, changed into one of my tailored dresses, a cream-colored suit with a gold brooch, and tied my hair neatly. When I came out, I held a small folder in my hand. "I wanted to show you something," I said. Hania's parents looked confused. I opened the folder and placed some documents on the table. Property deeds, bank statements, business ownership certificates. Their eyes widened. "This is the company I founded 15 years ago," I said calmly. "We now own 7 branches and export fabric to the Middle East. I never mentioned it because I wanted to see how deeply people judge without knowing the truth." The room fell silent. Nadia's painted smile disappeared. Her husband coughed awkwardly, his posture suddenly straightening. I didn't know," he stammered. "Of course you didn't," I replied softly. "Because you never asked. You assumed my worth from the clothes I wore. You saw a poor woman and forgot that dignity isn't measured in money." Hania looked stunned, tears filling her eyes. "Ami, I'm sorry," she whispered. I turned to her gently. "I never wanted to test you, Beta, but sometimes life teaches lessons through silence. I wanted you to know, love and respect must come from the heart, not from the size of a house or a bank balance." Nadia lowered her head. "We misjudged you," she said quietly. "It happens," I said kindly. "We all do sometimes, but I hope this makes you realize people can wear old clothes and still have the richest hearts." That day, Hania hugged me for the first time. Not politely, not out of duty, but with genuine love. From that day forward, she started helping me in the business. She learned, worked hard, and began treating me like her own mother. The arrogance faded, replaced by humility. Months later, as I stood on the balcony watching my son and his wife laughing together, I whispered to myself, sometimes pretending to be poor is the only way to see who truly values wealth of character. And that's when I decided to share my story, not to expose anyone, but to remind every heart listening that judgment is easy, but understanding takes courage. So to everyone watching, if you've ever been judged for how you look, speak or live, remember your worth isn't decided by others. It's written by your resilience.